Hello, everybody. It is Renee and Dee, and we are pre-recording today. So during the month of July, I'm going to be gone, and Dee is off on her travels and vacations and family time. So we are going to be talking about kale today. So Dee has spent some time creating kale recipes, and she's going to tell us about the health benefits of kale, and there's so many things that you can do with kale. I think I eat kale almost every day. All right, Dee, how are you doing today?
I'm wonderful. Thanks, Renee. And yourself?
Very good. So you've busily been creating, and your family's had to eat a lot of kale this week. Tell us a little bit about, I'm going to bring up this graphic here that shows us the kale, and tell us a little bit about kale.
Kale is a nutritional powerhouse. It is known as wild cabbage. They date that wild cabbage to 2000 BC, if you can believe it. It is said that it was introduced into Canada and the US by Russian traders in the 19th century. Excuse me, that's how it managed to find its way. During World War II, it was, I forget the actual term, but people were encouraged to grow it because it is such a hardy vegetable. It survives minus 15 Celsius frost. It actually becomes sweeter. And the nutrients that it was packed in there, they wanted everybody to grow it so that it was to provide nutrition during the ration. The times of ration. So it was, yeah, I'm stumbling over my words because I'm thinking too far ahead of on all the fun facts, but kale really does have a really interesting history. It's almost got its own place in the history books all the way along through because of its nutritional value and, of course, its hardiness value. And just like in that graphic that it shows there, the vitamin K, calcium, vitamin C, etc., a single cup of raw kale, your daily target amounts: vitamin A, 206%, vitamin K, 684%, vitamin C, 134%, magnesium, 26%, and so on and so forth. It is really nutritionally, it is related to your cabbage, broccoli, collard greens, Brussels sprouts. Kale can be an annual or a biennial. Dark green. So right here you see the.
Does it depend on where you live?
Sorry, does it depend on
where you live, if it's annual or biannual?
Actually, that's just the species. Kale is widely grown everywhere, and that again is due to its the temp, surviving the low temp. So until the 90s, people generally seen kale as an ornamental vegetable. You would see it in flower gardens, those types of things, fall farmer markets as a decoration. And then somebody started doing some better studies on the kale's nutritional powerhouse based on its past history and said, whoa, wait, we need to be incorporating this into our North American diet. So in the 90s, kale just took off and became widely available everywhere. So again, in the picture, you're seeing the pale green kale, and there's curly leaf, bumpy leaf, leafy and spear leaf. They say it goes from light green to a rich green. It goes from dark green to the violet green, and that one is a very popular one. And we see a lot of the really dark green with that kind of purpley vein in them, that really, really curly leaves. So makes really excellent chips. So it is, excuse me, one of the really neat things about kale when it comes up, that it is actually proven to contain natural ingredients that lower your cholesterol. It has natural binding agents in it, and steaming kale actually brings the effectiveness out. So oftentimes we talk about when we cook or steam something, we're losing its nutritional value. With kale, it actually enhances that super powerhouse property of kale. So I thought that was really super interesting. And of course, anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, antidepressant. So food is your medicine. Again, kale is in that metabolic syndrome powerhouse of healing the body naturally. So you can do a lot of reading on kale and find a real wealth of interesting facts on kale.
Mm-hmm. All right, I love it. Mm-hmm. Sorry for the feedback.
That's okay.
Maybe turn your volume down a little bit. Okay, talking about kale today. If you are interested in getting these recipes that Dee has created this week, all you have to do is type the word recipe, and of course, tell us where you're from. And most of all, if you would share this broadcast and help us create a bigger community so that we can reach more and more people with our great, healthy, everyday recipes and easy, simple things that you can do to not only stay on protocol, or if you're just living a low-carb lifestyle, these are great recipes to incorporate into that. Okay, Dee, so let's talk about this beautiful kale salad.
So another just little tidbit before we go into talking about that pretty salad is that we are so super lucky where we live here. Our local greenhouses produce kale. And I know you hear me talk about our local greenhouses a lot, but most of us don't even realize how fortunate we are. I actually don't grow kale or tomatoes or cucumbers in my own garden simply for the fact of how economically I can purchase them here. So for me, at this time of the year, I can go to our local greenhouse, and last week, massive, like we're talking 12 cups worth of kale cost me $1.
Well, it's different here in California. We don't have any greenhouses to go over to.
So usually it's $2 per bunch, but last week the special was $1 per bunch.
Wow.
And so being flexible with your budget again on when you're healthy eating goals. So for me, it made perfect sense that, well, I am now not going to be buying, this veggie and that veggie. I'm going to get 2 bunches of kale for $2 and enjoy a little bit of kale every day. So,
and how does it keep?
So kale, you have to, it does not keep for a long time. It will wilt. So you want to keep it wrapped, wash. And then one of the big things with kale is wash and make sure the leaves are thoroughly dried. If you put them back in the fridge with wet leaves, they're going to wilt even faster. And I like to work with crisp kale right from the start, even if I am wilting it down. So wash it, dry it, then rewrap it back up to store. I honestly, when I buy my big bunches of kale, I plan out right away. I'm going to make a few sheets of kale chips. One of the reasons why is that I'm going to enjoy a couple cups of kale chips. I'm going to tell you that my 17-year-old is going to enjoy 8. He will eat them faster than I can make them. But again, at $1 or $2 a bunch right now, and knowing that it's such a healthy snack, it doesn't bother me at all. So I will do those types of things. Again, if I'm cooking something in the stove, we're going to cook something, on top of the stove. So yeah, so let's work backwards. So those are the kale chips, and kale chips are such an interesting chip. And this is not a joke. So I remade kale chips to take some new pictures because I wasn't, happy with whatever I had on my phone. And I made different flavors of kale chips. So I made dill pickle kale chips. I made garlic and paprika kale chips. Sometimes if I'm just in a real big hurry, I will simply just use sea salt. Everybody has a little bit of olive oil or grapeseed olive on board. Sorry. The biggest tip that I can give on kale chips, again, make sure your leaves are thoroughly dried. If you're going to start with a dry leaf for a kale chip, They are going to crisp up nice and fast, and they're not going to burn in your oven. So a lot of times, a lot of recipes will say, oh, you have to dehydrate them overnight or for hours and hours and hours. You actually don't. Just start with the dry leaf. So you rip them, tear them into 2-inch pieces. Kale does shrink when you bake it. Make sure you measure your 2 cups prior, not after, because you're going to get shrinkage in the roasting process. But for 2 cups of ripped kale pieces, 2 teaspoons of your olive or grapeseed oil and your favorite seasoning, you toss that into a bowl, toss really well. Keep tossing. That little 2 teaspoons of oil, it's going to thoroughly cover that 2 cups of kale. It really does. Just keep tossing it. Lay in a single layer on parchment paper on a baking sheet, and at 350 degrees, bake for 10 minutes. Give them a little stir or a flip, bake for 5 minutes more, and you will have a perfect crunchy kale chip.
Wow.
So when we talk about seasoning, anytime you're going to bake something down or dehydrate it down, less is more because it's going to bring out the flavor. So start easy on your seasoning and then build to taste, but they can be very strong because the flavors of your seasoning concentrate once they're baked into a kale chip. So my true story attached to these was I took my healthy kale chip snack to the ballpark this weekend, and people were watching me eat my kale chips, and I was getting some funny looks, and finally a mom up from behind me said, Dee, what are you doing? And I'm like, what do you mean, what am I doing? And she's like, are those like marijuana leaves?
Oh my goodness.
I was like, no. And everybody, so, I got a little bit of attention that was almost a little bit embarrassing because everybody was like, oh, Jack's mom is in the stands, and no. But yeah, because they're so curly, and so they thought I was, anyway, it was funny.
That's hilarious. That would be totally okay here in California.
I guess in October it will be legal.
Oh, okay, cool. It's going to be legal everywhere. It's been going on for, 50 years? I mean, come on. All right. We'll pass that opinion.
Yeah. not here, not quite yet. And so they thought that was.
Yeah. Okay. So we got this kale breakfast bake, which looks amazing. Tell us about this.
So kale, again, is sturdy in baking, sturdy in soups, stews, stir fries, even if you're just pan frying it as a side, like as in your collard green. But as a breakfast egg bake, it is amazing. Now, everybody has seen the recipes that circulate out there that they're using egg basically as a cheese substitute is what they're doing to hold their recipes together. But this egg bake actually has a tip. That came from Sarah Malero, and yourself shared it, and that was the caramelized fennel. So there is a cup, right? Right. So caramelized onion in an egg bake with kale is amazing. It just is. It's delicious. It makes caramel.
You mean caramelized fennel, right. Not onion.
Right. And I would like caramelized onions. They add so much flavor to an egg bake or a breakfast bake. And so then once you shared because I had never caramelized fennel, I had never even thought about it. And so once you had all shared that, I was like, I'm on that. I'm going to do that. It has given, and I don't mind raw fennel in salads, but or baked in stews or whatever. But that has repurposed fennel in a whole new way for me. And fennel paired with kale is amazing. It's a beautiful match. It really is. They go hand in hand. So this one has a cup of kale and a cup of the caramelized fennel. Just 2 whole eggs, beaten, spiced, and I did it both ways. So I did it just as a plain egg bake, and then just for fun, again, in comes that mac and cheese. Because I thought, well, can I make it a really, really cheesy egg bake? And yes, you can. And the neat part about it is that the few noodles that rose to the top, they got really nice and crispy and crunchy, and with that cheese coating over them. And so it really was like even a good old-fashioned hearty casserole as a breakfast bake. So, and I don't know if you can tell in that picture, but that kale was baked in that dish for 40 minutes, and it comes out looking that beautiful.
No, it looks fantastic, and I always like a frittata or kind of that quiche kind of thing for breakfast. So this would definitely hit the spot for a nice brunch.
Breakfast, brunch, lunch. Often clients, again, they're like, I need more. I can't. We're all designed different. So we'll have the clients that they just want that fast drink in the morning and out the door. We do have clients that, they may require a little bit of protein splitting, or, those special occasions when you're going to be sitting down and everybody's going to be eating a 4, 5, 6 course breakfast or brunch in front of you, and you're going to need something on board. One, it's going to take a little bit longer to work through. You're actually going to have to sit and chew and enjoy. It makes a large portion. So again, this is something that you could make. You could eat half at breakfast and half at lunch. And you'd only be getting 1.5 ounces of protein in a half an unrestricted pack at breakfast and at lunch. You need to journal. You need to know. So oftentimes too, I've had feedback saying, well, I won't make your recipe because I don't really understand what the serving size is. Okay, fair enough. Let's talk about that a little bit more. But again, if you're journaling, then it's really easy to break down. Oh, I used 1 large egg. That's 1.5 ounces of protein. Oh, I used 1 unrestricted ideal protein mac and cheese. Even if it took me 2 servings to eat that, that's still only 1 unrestricted serving. And 2 cups of select vegetables. The beautiful thing about caramelizing that fennel, still a select vegetable. It doesn't make it a restricted vegetable. It doesn't. It just makes that veggie extra tasty. So if you have not seen Sarah Malero or Renee graphics on caramelizing the fennel, look for it and just try it.
The caramelized fennel comes out basically like similar to caramelized onions. I love it. I'll just cook up the fennel in a little bit of olive oil, and then I'll put it with a baked salmon, or I'll incorporate it with some other veggies like a broccoli or asparagus. It is so ridiculously tasty.
So good.
It's great with a steak also. So yeah, definitely. All right, if you are just coming on to this broadcast or you're watching it in the replay, we are pre-recording today and talking about kale. Please tell us where you're from. Ask us your questions, and of course, share our broadcast. And if you would like these recipes, all you have to do is type in recipe in the comments section, and you will get the recipe sent to you in your Facebook Messenger. Okay, Dee, I think we have one thing left. Oh, no, I think we have 2, actually. We never did talk about that salad. So let's talk about this soup first.
It is so good. Can I just say that? It is so good. It's even better the second day because it's like a stew. So hearty. I often refer to my 17-year-old, and my 17-year-old is our middle of 3. He's a 17-year-old boy, and he eats us out of house and home. However, he is one of our 3 kids that embraces all my healthy veggies and healthy cooking. So in this kale chicken soup, I was making little chicken meatballs. And my little chicken meatballs, they don't have anything except spice in them. There's no eggs, there's no crumbs. I want you to know that you don't need them. They're not required. You don't need filler when making little meatballs for soups or for appetizers or anything. I just want to throw that out there. So these ones I was simply just dropping with the tips of a teaspoon into a little pan to saute to get ready for my soup. And I removed them to cool, and I left the kitchen. And when I came back to the kitchen, all my chicken meatballs were gone. They were gone. He had put them into a great big bowl, added a little bit of barbecue sauce, and was just shoveling them in like it was cereal. And I'm like, what are you doing? And he's like, this is so good. So So cook around your kids. Just keep cooking. But anyway, so fresh sautéed kale down in your pot, your saucepan, your soup pan, and add your garlic, add your seasoning. You can add other vegetables. This one, after my kale was all sautéed, I added a cup of sugar-free, carb-free chicken broth, a cup of water, and I added my chicken meatballs that are just seasoned with herbs and seasoning, and then one packet of the chicken a la king, so the chicken pottage soup. And I want to give a little bit of reference to him because a lot of times people make a funny face if they were like, oh, you know, there was one piece of corn floating in there. However, as a soup base again, I love IP soups, but I love to build with them. And paired with the chicken broth, the meatballs, and the kale, that chicken a la king turns into almost like a gravy, more like a stew. And it becomes
very hearty.
Very hearty. It becomes a very hearty base. What I love about that is it adds a little bit of chicken flavor. There is no thickener. That is not allowed. So, there's no cornstarches or flours or anything that make this soup a no. The little bit of dehydrated vegetables that are in that chicken a la king come alive. They give lovely color to it, lovely flavor to it. The kale leaves themselves, because they're so curly, they hold the stew. They hold your soup. So even if you like your broth a little thinner or a little thicker, you can control that. You can design that, but the kale leaf itself holds your soup, holds the flavor. It's an excellent vehicle to make a hearty soup. So this is kind of a spin-off on traditional, Italian wedding soup.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, it's exactly what it is.
One of my favorite.
I love that soup. And so sometimes I spend, and that one traditionally has spinach, but I actually think kale is king when it comes to replacing it in a soup. This is just one of many versions of what you can do with kale in soup. But again, we are in June, soon we're going to be July, I guess, right away here.
Yeah.
And gardens are being harvested, and kale in fresh garden soup is amazing. So again, in a simple veggie broth. And if you're not sure about carb-free, sugar-free veggie broth, make your own. Make your own. Yeah. You can simply boil down all your veggies to make beautiful broth with any seasoning. Remove those vegetables, puree them, add them back in, save them, for another recipe. We can help you do that if you're unsure on how to do those kind of things. But kale is a number one fan for me in soups. So
I love it.
Yeah.
In California, here at Whole Foods, we have a brand called Imagine, and that's the brand that I always suggest for my clients because it is the only brand I've found of your low sodium chicken broth that has no cane sugar added to it. So be sure you read your ingredients because most chicken broths will have cane sugar added to it. All right. So if you would like these recipes, be sure that you type in the word recipe in the comments section. And our last recipe here is the cabbage salad, which looks super yummy. So I love a good, it's not cabbage salad. It's kale salad. Sorry, kale and cabbage.
Yeah, I actually couldn't decide where I wanted to use this salad, if I wanted to use it when we featured kale or so for cabbage, because it's a split down the middle. But the kale side won because there's actually, more kale than there is cabbage in there. So I put it in the salad. So again, kale, it is part of the cabbage family, so it marries perfectly with any type of cabbage, and there is actually some fresh red raw onion in there. It's actually kind of hard to see with that. That purple cabbage really takes over the color, because there is green cabbage in there as well with the kale and the red onion. And you simply toss it together and then add your dressing. And this dressing actually is really simple. Lime juice, IP maple syrup, or the meat and potatoes, salt and pepper, your 2 teaspoons of your oil, garlic if you like, and you just simply toss it all together. And an option here as well for you is that you could add the sweet and spicy trail mix or your soy nuts to it for more texture, more crunch. If you add them in early, they soften up a bit. They're really delicious. Again, this type of salad, so if you bought the ingredients to make this salad, super, super economical, and you're going to end up with huge Ziploc bags of sliced and ready to go cabbage and kale. And I can't, speak enough to how easy it is to have those types of Ziploc bags chock full of kale, cabbage. They're ready to go. You're in a hurry in the evening. Pour them in a pan, stir fry really fast, enjoy as a raw salad really quickly. They are a great emergency veggie. You are going into the car for a 2-hour drive, take your bag of cabbage and kale that has a little bit of seasoning on it and eat those shredded strips one by one, just like you would, say, a sunflower seed or chip in a past life, in past bad eating habits. Use them to get you through. So, and again, chock full of vitamins and antioxidants and all those wonderful things. And so it's winter. It's a winter.
I love it. I love it. Again, cabbage is one of those things. I think I put a little bit on my salad every single day. I eat a big salad every single day. Mm-hmm. And that's something that Ideal Protein really introduced me to. And I'm very grateful for that. All right. So if you have questions, put them in the comments section. If you'd like these recipes, type the word recipe. And as I said before, this is a pre-recorded broadcast. Dee and I will be out and about in the world during the month of July, but we will be back live in August every single Wednesday. And tell us what your favorite vegetable is. If there's something out there that we haven't covered, tell us what you want to see next, and we will be happy to recreate your favorite recipes and teach you how to do that for Phase 1 protocol. All right, Dee, any last words you'd like to say about kale and incorporating that into your life?
I just watch for it at your local farmers markets, your supermarkets right now. If you haven't tried it, give it a go. It is, and again, I mean, we barely even just kissed where you can use it, so I feel a little bit guilty about that. But as we always say too, we could probably do a 2.0 on kale. So at another time, we'll definitely revisit and give you some more ideas. Make those chips, make those kale chips. Give them a go. Get your kids to sample their favorite flavors, and
incorporate your family into your lifestyle, because that's going to be easier for you to maintain your lifestyle once you start segueing out into stabilization phase. Yeah. All right, Dee, thank you so much. This has been such a pleasure, and thank you to everybody here on the broadcast. And please be sure that you share and subscribe and like our videos. And we will see you next Wednesday. Bye, Dee.
Happy July.
That's me.